My name is Gracie McGarity, and I've decided to create a tree for our Creative and Critical Thinking project. Each of my 6 creators is represented by a different symbol upon the tree that represents different aspects of their lives. I personally am also represented by butterflies, which symbolize my free-spirited personality. I also decided to place my tree upon my yoga mat, which is the place that I feel the most creative, and I thought it'd be a great base for my tree. So I'll walk you through each of my 6 creators and what their symbols mean, as well as how I personally connect to them through my butterfly. Anna Halprin is my first creator. Anna is represented by a ballerina and a tap shoe to symbolize her creativity through dance. Anna was born in Illinois in 1920 and then studied dance under Margaret Dubler at the University of Wisconsin in 1940. Halprin felt that Dubler helped her understand the human body and how anatomy and biology played a role in movement. Halprin was very aware of her breath and was able to connect her breath work to movements, which created a wonderful artistic dance. Anna married Lawrence Halprin and moved to New York City to become a member of the Doris Humphrey Charles Wiedemann Dance Company. Anna and Lawrence then moved to the West Coast, where they were heavily influenced by the local dance styles. Lawrence had a strong influence on Anna's work. Lawrence's experience as a landscape architect motivated Halprin to explore her creativity and bring awareness to the environment through dance. Anna is known throughout the dance community for her creating a dance revolution, as well as inspiring a countless number of artists. Halprin had a very playful personality, while also being very stubborn. As a visionary leader in the dance world, Halprin was not afraid to take risks, explore, and have fun. So I'll put my butterfly to represent myself and how I connect to Anna Halprin. The creators on Creating Book stated that the process is the purpose. This statement is something that I frequently repeat to myself throughout my daily yoga practice. Yoga allows me to be creative, and I was able to identify with Halprin in the way she talked about body movement and breath connections. Many people see a pretty asana and think that the pose was the purpose. But to those who practice yoga, it is more about getting on the mat day in and day out to achieve the asanas. My second creator is Richard Feynman. Richard is represented by a plate where he got inspiration to study quantum electrodynamics. He is also represented by Uncle Sam for his work on the atomic bomb that, although was an unfortunate weapon of mass destruction, helped end World War II. Renowned physicist Richard Feynman was born in 1918 in New York City and went on to study at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Feynman's mother and father both had a strong influence on his childhood education. Feynman's father taught him to question the world from a young age, and his mother taught him to love and laugh and have courage. These two relationships seem to have the strongest influence on Richard's creative abilities. Feynman continued his education to receive his PhD from Princeton in 1942. Feynman worked on the Manhattan Project, or the atomic bomb, while he was at Princeton and also during World War II. Feynman then accepted a position at California Institute of Technology as a theoretical physics professor. Feynman loved teaching, and as his students constantly questioned him, which kept his mind working. Feynman was married 3 times during his life. His first wife, Arlene Greenbaum, passed away from tuberculosis. He then married Mary Lou, but they were soon divorced. Finally, Feynman married Gwyneth Howarth, who loved adventure as much as Feynman. Feynman won the Albert Einstein Award in 1954, the Lawrence Award in 1962, and a Nobel Prize in Physics in 1965. Feynman had a very curious and playful personality, which is where I connected with him. I really enjoyed reading about Feynman's playful approach to life, as I personally try to live my life like this. I have fun when I embrace a childlike curiosity for things around me. There are many things in this world that we can take for granted because we lose our playful mindset. Feynman stopped enjoying his passion for physics when he became burned out and stressed under pressure. He decided to focus on problems that he enjoyed working on and considered it playing when he got to work on those opportunities. I often find myself making games out of things at work so that I compete with myself. The most interesting thing about Feynman was that he got to work on things that he enjoyed doing. The third creator is Carl G. Jung. I chose to symbolize Carl with a moon because he was so connected with his dreams from childhood. Carl Jung was born in Switzerland in 1875. As an only child, Jung experienced a lonely childhood. Jung's father was a Protestant clergyman who was faltering in his religious beliefs. This experience affected Jung over his whole life. He decided not to follow in his father's footsteps and instead attended the University of Basel to study medicine in 1895. Jung then studied under Eugene Buehler as a physician's assistant at a psychiatric clinic. Eventually, Jung attended the University of Zurich to get his MD. He worked closely with Freud, but later contested many of his theories. Eventually, Jung developed his own discipline named analytical psychology that studies the differences between psychology and psychoanalysis. Jung became widely known for his interests in symbols and dreams, as well as fantasies. He wrote his dissertation on the occult phenomenon, which seems to be directly attributed to his childhood experience. Jung describes the dreams as a boy that inspired his studies over the course of his life. Jung is responsible for the study of the introverted and extroverted personality types as well. Carl Jung seems to be motivated by the need to understand. He searched for an understanding of his childhood dreams for his entire life, and I can relate to this aspect of his personality. I like to understand the way things work and why I'm experiencing certain feelings. In my opinion, it is through understanding that we can change our thought process. It seems as though Jung's need to understand his terrifying dreams and get rid of them made his creativity come to life. I have personally learned through my meditation practice that if I can understand where my thoughts are coming from, I can control my mind and choose not to think about negativity. Maurice Sendak is the next creator, and he is represented by a music note and a paintbrush, as he made many of his illustrations based off of music. Maurice Sendak is a well-known author of children's books, including Where the Wild Things Are. Maurice was born into a Polish Jewish family in New York. Sendak spent most of his childhood indoors due to many health problems. Due to his childhood illnesses and limitations, Sendak turned to reading for pleasure. This set the base for allowing Sendak's imagination to expand. Walt Disney's Fantasia inspired Sendak, and it gave him imagery for sounds. Maurice makes his illustrations based off of music. Starting in 1948, Sendak worked and took night classes at the New York Students' League. After 4 years, Sendak started illustrating children's books full-time. In 1963, Where the Wild Things Are skyrocketed Sendak to fame. Sendak is well known for his artistic imagery, but had a lifelong sense of melancholia due to his childhood. Sendak grew up in a world of looming terrors, but he had a warm side with an intense passion for music and arts. I could relate to Sendak in his connection with music. Sendak used music to inspire his illustrations, and I personally do this in many of my daily activities. I enjoy listening to electronic music while compiling spreadsheets at work. I listen to upbeat music while cleaning the house, mostly to lift my mood during chores, and I listen to classic music while studying. I oftentimes relate songs to specific moments in my life, and if I ever hear that a song is linked to a memory, I think about that situation again. I have always thought it would be an amazing job to compile the soundtrack for movies. One of my favorite soundtracks was The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. The movie was very inspiring and uplifting, and the music was able to instill these feelings within the audience. Eugene Herrigel is our next creator. Herrigel is symbolized by the arrow. It was through his study of archery that he found his end state. Eugene Herrigel, a German philosophy professor, studied Zen in Japan in the 1920s. At Heidelberg University, Herrigel studied theology and philosophy and developed a deep interest in Christian mysticism